Hi, Keith. Nice to see you again.
Hi.
Um, for those of you who don't know, my name is Mark Price from Alchemy Collective Meditation, and Keith is from Intuity Healing Academy. And today I wanted to have a brief discussion about this idea of empowerment. I know when I first came to meditation over 11 years ago, it came as a result of being extremely dissatisfied by several different things in my life. In a sense, I didn't have connection to this thing called fulfillment. And I think most of us are chasing so many pursuits, whether that's, looking for the job promotion, the trying to fill up the bank account, all of those things, because we're chasing this idea of fulfillment because we think that, our happiness lies on the other side of any person, place, or thing. So we're constantly seeking externally for ways to provide some sort of fulfillment or empowerment, which is not really sustainable. I think, achievements, fulfillment from, pursuits can only be short-term fulfillment, but long-lasting fulfillment and empowerment actually comes from within. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to talk to you, because I can speak at length about, perspective from meditation teacher about empowerment, but I think it also encompasses another element, which is healing. So I want to start this first by asking the question, what is empowerment to you?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I would say empowerment is being able to walk our true path. In Intuity, we spoke last time about what it is to live in the heart. And I think more and more people are waking up to the concept, if not at least some of the experience of like, oh, yes, there is a part of me that I can call heart, that I can connect with, which in this moment I access my truth. And I don't need to think about it or add my feelings to the mix of that. Now, empowerment comes as a stage beyond that, in that if we're not in our power, if our heart says, do this today, call that person, or reach out for that job interview, for example, and we have fear around doing that, then we're not going to stay in our heart. We're going to go to our mind and we're going to make up a story about, oh, I don't feel like that today. I'm not good enough. So the actions we take are consistent with our wounded self rather than our true expression. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love the idea of being able to stay in heart. I think from my perspective, I could add that maybe another way to think about that is staying connected to the true self and not just the realm of the intellectual mind,
Mm-hmm.
which often leads to speculation. And I love what you said, often leads to speculation based on our pain points or old wounds. So what is one of the biggest obstacles that gets in the way of empowerment, in your opinion?
Ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our emotional wounds are so deeply anchored that we can in a moment just go from heart to fear or guilt or anger or some emotional state.
Yeah.
It's not so much the emotional state that we see, it's the protections that we've built up to cope with our life on top of that will be in place. So if someone's scared of a job interview, their protection may be avoidance. So what will be visible is they were avoiding sending off a reply to accept that job interview, or suddenly they're sick on the day of the interview and they can't make it.
Yeah.
So we have many, many emotional blocks inside us, and it's possible to trace those and to break through them, but a lot of people don't realize that is possible, so they become that emotional state again.
Right.
They're not empowered. They can't stay in their power of their commitment to the world and the life that they say they're creating for themselves. They may dream a dream, but they don't take the actions towards the dream because they can't stay in power.
You bring up an interesting point too about this idea of emotion possibly getting in the way of empowerment as well. I think I've seen this happen not only in my own life, but in other people's lives as well, about how we will do anything in the world not to feel. We will literally spend millions of dollars trying not to feel. So it's an interesting concept how people can build experiences and an identity around this idea of not having to feel because of whatever the vibration of that pain or that emotion actually is. But
Mm-hmm.
can you just give a really short definition of emotion, and particularly difficult emotion that can prevent healing and connection to heart?
Well, sure. In its natural state, emotion is a feeling that is felt in the body and will pass through us. When we speak of emotion, we're most often referring to past-based emotions from childhood or somewhere where it's got stuck, and we experience trauma or confusion or something that we hadn't experienced for the first time, and then we react to that. So we move out of center and we create an interpretation of the way the world is and how we need to be to survive it. And it's this state of survival then that just carries on through our life and is what we see when we go for therapy, when we look to work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not needing to be permanently stuck, but once it's wedged there, you need to then revisit that part of yourself and
Yeah,
acknowledge and get complete on what happened. Then
yeah.
that emotion doesn't stay stuck, and thus you're not going to constantly be pulled out of your center and out of power each time
Right.
that similar situation arises in your life.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's been most fascinating for me is as a meditation teacher, which is, one tool in a toolbox. I think there are many different tools. I think all of us are looking for the magic pill, the magic cure, without really addressing, sort of the root cause a lot of times. And I think the root cause can take many different forms, particularly in subtle energetic bodies. That was a concept that really was completely eye-opening to me, is how pain can not only be stored in the physical body or the emotional body, but in the subtle energetic body as well. So it's a very subtle process and intricate process as well, but one that can have a profound effect when you start addressing and dealing some of these root causes. So all of that discussion about emotion, empowerment, living through heart, what's one actionable tool that someone could take away that they could start applying today?
Yeah, the best advice I can give to people watching this is to, first of all, have a goal. You might already have a goal in your life, or maybe you want to set something new today. And watch as you become derailed from that. What's the first step that happens where you feel something, where you don't take the steps that you promised yourself you were going to take? And then look in your body. Where in my body am I feeling that emotion? And what is the emotion? Is it in my chest? Do I feel anxious? Do I feel not good enough? And give yourself some space, whether you've learned to meditate or whether you have other tools in your toolbox right now. Give yourself space to breathe into that and to not be that reaction, but to be the observer of the reaction. You don't need to stop movement just because you feel fear. It's just simply that that's what you learn to do. As you
Yeah,
breathe into it, you start to regain some level of presence. Now, the real work happens when you trace these emotional states and you shift them, which is something we teach you in the Intuity Healing Academy. But just to start off, it's a very simple step that each of you can take. And you'll start to realize that these things aren't your personality. You're not a procrastinator. Maybe just because you always procrastinate before an essay or a work assignment, you've learned to do that. right? There's something buried emotionally in your unconscious that causes you to avoid doing those things until the last minute, as an example. So the first step is to be present to that, to really understand that, okay, there is a feeling, there is a sensation, and then there's a whole set of thoughts and beliefs that I have acted on again and again that has caused, in this case, the procrastination.
Yeah, we are very like-minded in that respect. I think it's one of the cores that why I teach meditation, is to give an experience outside the realm of the intellectual mind. I always say that meditation gives us choice, and how we like to respond. It gives us choice and it gives us freedom as to the things that we're trying to construct in our lives, leading with more creation rather than maintenance or destruction. Once we have an experience outside the realm of the intellectual mind, we can start to see some of these themes and patterns, and we can start to sort of, see where we might be conscious creators of our own suffering. And I think that falls in line with what you're saying. Once we have that awareness, then we can start tracing some of this with, someone who has proper training, like yourself and Kyla as well, to really get to the root cause of some of that. So yes, very like-minded indeed. So real quick, I want to talk about where people can find opportunities to dive further. If you're interested in learning more about meditation, you can go to alchemycollective.org. All the upcoming courses, workshops, and events are listed on the events page. But in terms of Intuity Healing, where can they find more opportunities to work with you as well?
So you can visit intuityhealingacademy.com, and there's a range of online events if you are not living in one of the countries you work from, and there are also events in person coming up in the US and the UK, and you can reach out for a one-to-one session, or just message any questions you have about empowerment or any of the topics that we teach at the Intuity Healing Academy.
Great, beautiful. Thank you so much, Keith. It's always lovely seeing you, and I look forward to our next conversation.